welcome back to review. The film picks up immediately after the events of John Wick, Chapter 3 Parabellum, with John Wick on the run from the high table. He is forced to hide underground with the Bowery King, a powerful crime lord who rules over the homeless population of New York City. He goes to Morocco and murders the Elder, also known as the one who sits above the table. In response, the Marquis Vincent Bissett de Graymont, a high table member, summons Winston, the general manager of the New York Continental, and Sharon, his concierge. The Marquis explains that John Wick can be killed with no limit on resources thanks to the high table. Winston receives criticism from him for failing to kill John. The Marquis destroys the New York Continental as retribution, excommunicates Winston, takes away his managerial responsibilities, and has Sharon put to death. The Marquis then hires Kane, a blind former high-table assassin, to murder John, his old friend, on the condition that Kane's daughter be spared from being murdered. John seeks refuge at his friend Shimazu Koji's hotel, the Osaka Continental. Chitty, the Marquis' second-in-command, shows up to look into the hotel, supported by high-table killers and Kane. The hotel's concierge, Koji's daughter Akira, evacuates the building just before the high table deconsecrates it, setting off a brawl when Koji and his men defend John. John defeats waves of armored assassins, setting up a confrontation with Kane. A bounty hunter named Mr. Nobody breaks up their fight and helps John flee after deciding the reward for John's death was insufficient. On behalf of John, a wounded Koji assaults Kane repeatedly. Kane reluctantly kills Koji but spares Akira. When John gets back to New York, he runs into a furious Winston at Karen's grave. Winston suggests that John use an ancient high-table custom to issue a dueling invitation to the Marquis. John can only ask for a duel on behalf of a criminal organization, but winning would release him from all obligations to the high table. He makes his way to the Rusk-Aroma crime syndicate's Berlin headquarters to make a readmission request after severing his ties with them. Kadia, John's adoptive sister, demands that John kill Killa Harkan, a high-table member who murdered her father, in order to be admitted again. Killa is confronted by John at his club. When a fight breaks out, Kane and Mr. Nobody help John fight off Killa's goons. John eventually kills Killa and reclaims his status. The Marquis receives John's challenge through Winston. As John's second, Winston asks that the New York Continental be rebuilt and that, should John win, he be appointed manager once more. In a meeting presided over by the Harbinger, the table's emissary in Paris, John and the Marquis settle on the duel's specifics, which include firing pistols at Sacré-Cœur at sunrise the following day. The Marquis names a reluctant Kane to take his place. Should either fail to show up on time, John and Winston will be put to death. John receives a gun and a brand new ballistic suit from the Bowery King when he arrives in Paris. With a $26 million bounty on John, the Marquis wants to keep him from getting to the duel in time. On his way to Sacré-Cœur, John battles hordes of assassins, including Mr. Nobody, who arranges for the bounty to be raised to $40 million. John stops Chitty from killing Mr. Nobody's dog during their confrontation, which makes Mr. Nobody give up on trying to kill John. They arrive at the summit just in time for the duel after helping John fight off several assassins, including Chitty, who Mr. Nobody ends up killing, on the Rue Fouettier. After 2 rounds of combat, John and Kane exhausted one another. When Kane seriously wounds John, the 3rd round is called off. The Marquis eagerly takes Kane's place and demands the right to deliver the finishing blow. The Marquis is reprimanded by Winston for his haughtiness after discovering that John has not yet fired his 3rd round. This prevents the Marquis from firing because according to the dueling's rules, both parties must use their pistols before the next round can start. The Marquis is killed by John's gunshot. Kane and John are released from the high table by the Harbinger, and Winston is given his position back. John contemplates his life and marriage before collapsing on the staircase and passing away from his wounds. Winston and the Bowery King said goodbye to John at his grave, which was next to that of his late wife Helen, when they were back in New York. It is not as good as the first film, but it is still a great action movie. The film's action sequences are top-notch, and the supporting cast is excellent. Thank you for watching and don't forget to subscribe.